Do interest rates and inflation predict stock market returns? All right, so this is something I've been thinking about quite a bit because I've seen a pretty drastic run. I'm going to show you guys something here. Hang tight for just a second. So here's a 10-year Treasury. All right, you can see it starts in the basically early 1980s right there. The yield right now you can see it's at 4.693. You can see it just drops and drops and drops and drops until 2017, bottomed out and has gone up significantly. So now the 10-year Treasury is back to where we were back in 2000. What's that? 2008 or something like that, I guess. Actually, about 2006. Pretty interesting. And so if you actually looked at the correlation, the yield on the 10-year Treasury has dropped like a brick in water, and the prices of stocks over that time have gone up like a freaking bat out of hell. And then we go to the 30. I thought I had the 30-year Treasury in here. I guess I don't. Well, actually, hold on a second. I'll show you the 30-year Treasury right there. And it's the same thing. So right now, the 30-year Treasury is about 4.965. And you can see the exact same thing. You could have bought a 30-year Treasury bond right there at 12.5%, and you would have locked in 12.5% from 1982 to 2011, and then you would have renewed that bond about 3.5. And look, so right now the 30-year Treasury is right here, and it hasn't been there since basically 2005 or 6. So my assumption, my thought process was that, well, stocks have gone up because interest rates have gone down. And I said, well, I want to analyze that. And let's take a look. So we're going to look at my man Daniel Kuhlberg's 55e.co bucket strategy spreadsheet here. And you can see we're going to look at a couple of things. We're going to look at stocks going back to 1871 as represented by the S&P 500, not the Dow. It's silly to use a Dow, so we're going to use S&P 500. There wasn't an S&P 500 per se back then. I don't know, it was like the S&P 50 or something like that. But because it's market cap, we want to use that as opposed to Dow. Anyway, so it goes back to 1871, and then we're going to look back on inflation as well. All right, so we're going to look at inflation, and we're going to look at the stock market returns. On top of that, then we're going to go into look at the S&P 500, inflation, and interest rates as well, going back to 1926. All right, so what we're going to see here is we got this right here. These are 10-year averages. Stocks are in red, all right? Bonds are in yellow, and this is T-bills, not 10-year treasuries, but just T-bills. T-bills basically change every 90 days. So that's the best proxy on interest rates you can have because they change. They're so fluctuating and interest rate changes. And then we can see inflation right here. So I want to show you some. Remember, this is a 10% for stocks right there, 10%. Actually, what if I like this way? We got the stocks on the right and the inflation and bonds on the left. We'll look at them both together. But you can see, so inflation is going up, stocks are going down. All right. And again, stocks we represent over here. We're still getting decent rates of return, 10%. But again, these are 10-year running averages. All right, so we're looking at 19, was it 19, we're going back in this case, 1926. What are we going back here? Does it not tell me here? Anyway, I can't remember. But we're going back to 19, I think it's 1926. Maybe it's 1930. 1930, so the next 10 years, from 1930 to 1939, 1931 to 1940, whatnot. So you can see the running averages for 10 years for stocks, the running averages for 10 years for inflation, and then T-bills. So what's happening here is inflation is going up, but interest rates weren't really changing much here, and yet stocks were kind of, I don't want to say lagging, but relative to they were right here. Isn't that interesting? So here's stocks just jumping like a freaking bat out of hell from 1933, 1937 to basically 1954. Look at that. And yet at the same point, inflation was going up, and yet the stocks are going up. And yet interest rates were going up. So interest rates are going up, the inflation was going up, and yet the stocks just took off. Isn't that interesting? Yes, it is. Now, on the other hand, inflation is going down, yet interest rates are still going up, and the stocks are not taking off. They're going down. Inflation is going down, interest rates are going up, and stocks are going down. Even though interest rates are going up and inflation is going up and stocks are going up. Very interesting. So you think there's going to be a correlation, don't you? Well, now we have mass inflation going up and interest rates going up, and the stocks continue to go down, except right about there. right about when it hits its peak, right there, about 1977, right there. So that's 1977 right there. Inflation is now starting to come down, and the stocks kind of take off, right? Interest rates are starting to come down, so the stocks kind of take off, do they not? Except right here. Interest rates and inflation are going way down, and the stocks are going down too on a 10-year annualized basis. Very interesting. And then we got interest rates and stocks leveling off to going up, inflation, I should say, and yet you can see the stocks going zoops. So there's not really a correlation between interest rates and stocks. Let me change this here. We're going to go down to edit chart. I'll make this series. Right here, we got to put this series on the right axis. I kind of think this might be a better one to read. Yeah, this is a little bit better to read. I want left axis, excuse me, left axis. And I want this other guy to be left axis too. Right there, left axis. There we go. All right, here we go. So again, inflation is going up. Stocks are lagging. I wouldn't say they're going down per se, but they're lagging, relatively speaking. Inflation still going up. Interest rates start going up to deal with that inflation, and stocks are still going up. Very interesting. Stocks start going down when inflation starts going down, even though interest rates are going up. Isn't that interesting? Yes, it is. All right. Now, inflation starts going up, interest rates start going up, and stocks are lagging right here. Now stocks and inflation and interest rates are going down. Stocks take off like a bat out of hell, but then they fall off like a bat out of hell, whatever, when inflation and interest rates are going down. And again, these are 10-year averages going back to I can't remember what it is, but 1926, I believe. So now let's look at this. Let's look at just going back to S&P 500, and if I can have my chart right here, versus inflation. Actually, I do want to change this to make that edit chart, make that on the other. We want to put series here. This looks good. Oh, customize series. We want to put that on the right axis. We want to put stocks on the right axis there. Boink. All right. So here you'll see, look at this. I mean, inflation is high, stocks are low. All right. So inflation is in red. Inflation is high, stocks are low. But look, stocks take off the minute inflation drops. And you're like, oh, so inflation is the negative of stocks. But yet that's not what happened here. Inflation is going up and stocks are going up. Inflation is going down and stocks are going down. Inflation's down, stocks really don't start going up. Here's inflation going down, but stocks they're not going down, but they're not. I mean, look at this, a mass drop in inflation right here. We got a couple boom years for stocks, but then right here we got kind of lackadaisical returns. Inflation goes up and stocks are going up here. Inflation goes down, stocks continue to go up. But then inflation, as you can see, but here inflation is going down and stocks start going down too. There's just no correlation. And I'd love to be able to, look, there's just no correlation between these two things. It's crazy. Here inflation is going down and stocks are getting killed right here. Inflation is going down, stocks are going up. Inflation is going up, stocks are going up. There's just no correlation. As much I'd like to say that there's a correlation, and I think a lot of people say the correlation between stocks and bonds, inflation is there, it's just not. So a lot of people say, oh man, because inflation is going up or interest rates are going up, stocks will take on the chin. And we don't know that. And this is going back to 1871, by the way, because I didn't say that. 1871. And again, these are 10-year running times too. 10 years. Kind of weird, isn't it? Yeah, it is. So let's just put this back. I just want to show you guys something. We're going to edit chart again. And we're going to make this, I can tell you. I want to show you, you can see right here that the stocks, other than right there, kind of right there, and right there, and right there, the stocks have had very rarely do they get beaten by the rate of inflation. Isn't that interesting? For 10 years running. Now, those 10 years, that right there is a freaking bear. That right there could have been a bear, and that right there was a bear too. But very rarely does it happen. If we go back to this chart right here, you can see inflation beats T-bills, but then T-bills predominantly beats inflation, except right here, and because remember T-bills are on orange or yellow. So other than right around here, World War II, and right now, inflation has been beaten by T-bills. Just something to think about. I love your thoughts. God bless. Give me a thumbs up. We'll see you.